Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, where the weather's cold, the government's shut down, the world's on fire, and somehow the biggest crisis is still my cousin Earl using a leaf blower indoors because he said it's how real men dry their socks. Friends, buckle up. Today's news looks like somebody threw America into a blender set on apocalypse smoothie. Segment 1. Bomb cyclone and southern freeze-out. Let's kick things off with this bomb cyclone, which ain't a dance move. But buddy, it sure made America do the electric slide right into a ditch. This storm dropped pressure faster than my GPA in high school, and the whole East Coast went from winter wonderland to Mother Nature turned the thermostat to spite. Now you know it's bad when the National Weather Service is like, "Hey Florida, y'all might want to put on a jacket." Florida. The only place where the iguanas fall out of trees when it gets chilly, and suddenly folks are living inside a real-life ice bucket challenge. Wind chills in Georgia hit negative numbers. Not feels like negative. No, it was negative. Georgia ain't emotionally prepared for that. You show a Georgian a negative temperature, and they just stare at it like it's math homework. Charlotte got over a foot of snow. A foot. Charlotte is supposed to get confused when there's frost. A foot of snow is northerner cosplay. Folks are out there trying to shovel the driveway with lacrosse sticks and barbecue spatulas because their city owns exactly one snowplow, and it's been on vacation since 1987. And don't even get me started on the fatality count. 87 people, mostly from hypothermia and carbon monoxide poisoning because folks were running gas grills inside the living room. Listen, I know times are tough, but if you're heating your home with something described as outdoor only, you're basically doing Hunger Games but for the thermostat. And the roads? Lord help us. North Carolina alone had 750 crashes. That's not a transportation system. That's a demolition derby sponsored by Mother Nature. This storm didn't just hit. It slapped, stomped, body slammed, sent us through a folding table like it was doing WWE commentary. Segment 2. Power grid collapse and transportation meltdown. Now, as the South froze, the power grid said, "You know what? I'm out." Tennessee had hundreds of thousands of outages at peak. Louisiana had trees attacking power lines like they were auditioning for a horror movie called The Day the Pines Fought Back. Georgia equipment froze. North Carolina snapped like cheap headphone cables. Entergy in Louisiana basically said, "Good news, we fixed 118,000 outages. Bad news, 118,000 new outages showed up 5 minutes later because the trees iced over and went full kamikaze." And Tennessee? Lord bless. Some folks in Nashville were told they might not get power back for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That ain't a repair timeline. That's a season of Survivor. You know it's bad when you check the outage map and it looks like someone spilled mustard all over Tennessee. Meanwhile, the supply chain said, "Nope," and sat down in the middle of the highway. I-85 in North Carolina had a pileup of semis so big it looked like Optimus Prime got divorced and gave up on life. And the airlines? 15,000 flight cancellations. Charlotte Douglas canceled 80% of its schedule. The airport basically turned into a hotel for tired, angry people who haven't seen their luggage since Thursday. Every flight board looked like a bingo card of sadness. Folks were sleeping on the floor like a Black Friday sale broke out at Gate C-12. This storm didn't just break infrastructure, it committed a federal crime on it. Segment 3. Government shutdown and immigration clash. And while America is frozen solid, Washington decided, hey, Perfect time for a shutdown. The Department of Homeland Security is unfunded because Congress can't agree on whether ICE agents should wear body cameras like literally every other law enforcement agency with a uniform and a pulse. Democrats say, maybe they should identify themselves and not do roving patrols like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Republicans said, but what if we didn't? Speaker Mike Johnson went on TV saying the problem is lawmakers were trapped in the storm and couldn't get back to D.C., which is like telling your boss you couldn't come to work because your Xbox controller died. The man said it's all logistical. Brother, the logistics failed everywhere. At this point, America has the logistical consistency of wet spaghetti. Meanwhile, President Trump and DHS said sensitive locations like schools, churches, and hospitals are no longer off-limits for ICE operations. That's right. Sanctuary is canceled. If your grandma prays too loud in church, ICE might show up and ask for documentation. This is immigration policy by way of a reality TV show. Then we've got executive orders stopping visa issuance for multiple countries, ending parole programs, jacking up H-1B fees, and telling federal agencies they better get ready for layoffs. The government is shut down, but somehow also firing people. That's like closing the restaurant, but the chef still gets yelled at. Every part of this immigration showdown feels like Congress is playing dodgeball with real human lives, and half of them showed up wearing blindfolds. But hey, shutdowns build character, right? At least that's what Earl says about his truck, which hasn't run since 2014. Segment 4. Global tensions in Ukraine, Gaza, and Iran. Now let's go overseas, because apparently global chaos saw America in crisis and said, "Scoot over, I'm coming too." Russia launched a drone strike in Dnipro that hit a minibus full of mine workers, killing 12 civilians. Ukraine is furious, understandably. And President Zelensky publicly dragged the U.S. Embassy for releasing a statement that didn't even name Russia. That's like coming home and saying someone ate the cake when everyone knows Earl's got frosting on his face. This is especially awkward because Trump reportedly had an understanding with Russia that they'd halt strikes on major cities. Well, Russia halted nothing. Russia didn't even slow down. Russia looked at that deal and said, "Cute idea anyway, drone strike." Peace talks start on February 4th, and right now, the vibes are somewhere between tense divorce mediation and bar fight that hasn't started, but absolutely will. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Rafah Crossing reopened for a pilot run, which is great news for humanitarian aid, medical patients, and anyone who likes even a sliver of stability. But this thing is so delicate that if someone sneezes too hard near the border, the whole operation shuts down again. And then there's Iran. Oh boy. Khamenei said if the U.S. launches military action, it'll cause regional war. This man basically went full villain speech, shaking his fist at the sky while the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Group floats nearby like, "Sup." Iran also blamed recent protests on foreign coups because nothing says healthy government like accusing your citizens of being CIA interns every time they disagree with you. This whole situation feels like the Middle East is a pot of chili left on high heat with the lid rattling, and America's trying to stir it with a plastic spoon. Segment 5. The markets and everything else. Now let's dive into the economy, which at this point feels less like a system and more like a nervous chihuahua that just heard fireworks. President Trump floated the idea of capping credit card interest at 10%, and Wall Street reacted like he threatened to outlaw oxygen. Capital One plummeted, Synchrony face-planted, American Express flopped so hard, the card practically apologized to the stockholders. You know you're in trouble when the financial sector starts sweating before lunchtime on a Sunday. Meanwhile, tech stocks were living their best life on a different planet entirely. Alphabet hit a $4 trillion market cap because Walmart plugged new AI tools into their system. Walmart is out here using robots to track rollbacks, while my cousin Earl still writes grocery lists on the back of old parking tickets. And then there's India. Their market had a meltdown after taxes on futures and options went up. Gold and silver tanked too. You know it's chaos when even the shiny things give up. Somewhere, a man with a doomsday bunker full of gold bars just whispered, "Oh no." America is exhausting, y'all. And that's why the news never stops. In conclusion, this has been one of those days in America where everything feels connected. The storm, the shutdown, the geopolitics, the markets, the sports, the cultural tensions, all of it swirling together like the universe put the whole country in one giant washing machine on the chaos cycle. But as always, we'll keep watching, keep laughing, and keep pretending my cousin Earl isn't siphoning gasoline out of his own lawnmower because he forgot how siphoning works. This has been Poorly Educated Today in the news. Stay warm, stay safe, and stay poorly educated.